So welcome everybody to our today's webinar, which will be about triangulation in research. Laura, just see a black screen, nothing else. And somebody else, can you see it or not? The rest of you? Can you just write me? You can see, Laura, maybe you can reconnect, because Sabine is saying that she can see the slides. Hi, Sabine. Okay, good, perfect. So then if everything is okay, it looks like everything is okay, then as I said, I will start. The recording has just started. So let us try to do something good, something smart today, actually, for all of us. Some of you have already met me while I was hosting some of our webinars. My name is Boštjan Gumišček. I'm a professor of quality management, have been taking care of PhD program at 2 different universities, have actually supervised quite many students to completion. So in a way, we have a little bit an experience how to help you, how to be able to support you. And that's why we are here and trying actually to do our best to guide you, help you, support you in your PhD or DPA journey. As I said, that's shortly about me. I will not go even further about that. What is important for the ones who are new, some of you are actually for the first time with us. So definitely the recording will be available and the slides will be available for all of you. First of all, will be shared with email, and after that, actually, you can always log in and go once again and check every of our webinars which have been presented during the last few years. As I have mentioned before, you're really actually welcome to ask any of possible questions at any time. That is not bothering me, so just please come and ask whatever you want to. But what was that? I will try not to be too long. I mean, I have a few slides prepared today, a little bit more about theoretical concepts of triangulation. I will not probably talk about every single one, but it is for you, for your information. So you can actually go through that and recall what we have discussed and go maybe even a little bit deeper and take the references to understand if you will need actually even more about the triangulation. Another thing what I would like to point out is actually that you might know we have some workshops as well, and this one about the triangulation should take place end of August. So if anybody of you will be interested to know even more, very welcome to join us. And another one which is a little bit similar to this one is about the mixed methods, and this one is there as well, so you can join if you want to this workshop as well, because those things are a little bit linked, and I will talk about that as well. During the summer we have a little bit less webinars because the majority of you as well as us are actually enjoying the holidays. Hopefully the PhD students not too long, but still, so we are trying actually to keep up with you, and that's why the next one will be early August, tackling wicked problems, given by Dr. Andreas. So let us go now to our topic. As I said, just please come with any of possible questions. You're really actually, yeah, should I say asked, or kind of just ask questions, okay? I don't want to let you kind of force you or whatsoever into questions, but if you have a question, just ask it. I would really like that we have open conversation with as many questions as possible, and not that just I'm kind of talking, and at the end you say, oh, what did he say? If you have a question, just come with that question, and we will try to explain it as much as possible. And if not, as I said, if you don't want to interrupt, as I said, you're not interrupting, but if you think so, just ask the question afterwards. I'll be actually available for another, I don't know, doesn't matter how long you have questions. I can stay with you and we can discuss at the end of the presentation as well. So triangulation research. What I would like to discuss with you today are the three top areas, let's say, or topics or focuses. The first one is we discuss the aim and benefits of the triangulation. The next one is that we understand what are the different types of triangulation, so you can think of which one you would like to use, what might be helpful for you, and something else, just maybe 5 minutes or something like that, that we understand that mixed methods is actually not per se triangulation, because many of the people do think that if they use first qualitative and then quantitative, that they are doing actually a triangulation, and that is actually not really true. The idea is, as you see actually on this picture here, is that we are trying to use, let's say, as we were talking then afterwards about different types, different sources, different, let's say, investigators, different methods, different theories or something like, in order to understand, to interpret our results in a better way, and as well that we can validate, let's say, our data better, so that we are more sure in our results, because we are getting information, views, perspectives, theories, and not just one of them, but several of them. And that helps us definitely in our, should I say, robustness or understanding of and validity of our results. That's kind of the idea behind it. That is what we are trying to discuss today. And even that's how I usually start some questions, just in order to start your brain working as well, not just mine. I hope that you are here because you would like to understand better how you can use it. And that's kind of the first question. Have you ever thought about using triangulation in your research? Because we have many PhDs where we do not use, let's say, triangulation, but on the other side, in many cases, that is in a way almost needed, or really actually beneficial to actually, the quality, should I say, of your research study, and especially of the interpretation and finally the results. Did you want to or not? What is the barrier, or what is actually the motivation to use it? Just think a little bit about that, and maybe we can discuss about those things as well. And the last part, as I said, let us just touch shortly. I mean, we have had some other webinars on mixed methods, so you can go and watch those as well if you want to. I will not go too deep into that today, but just in order to understand, as I said, it's important to understand that there is a difference between the triangulation and mixed methods, because the idea behind it is actually different. So let us go a little bit into the background of the triangulation and just talk a little bit about that. So the first slide is actually talking about, I don't have, the first slide is talking about, yeah, maybe for all of you who have, I mean, all of us have done trigonometry some years ago, and some of you are maybe sailing or doing something like that, or I don't know, using your maps in order to understand where are you standing right now, where is your position, what's your location. And I guess this explains quite well what we are trying to do. So we are not kind of using just, let's say, one source or one theory or one framework, let's say, or one data set, but we are trying actually to determine our position, to define, interpret, understand our results using, let's say, different sources for the same, should I say, thing? So that's kind of the idea behind it. So we are getting information for the same interpretation, explanation, actually, let's say, understanding from different, yeah, should I say here, coordinates, if you want to, because based on that, you will definitely be able to position yourself way better. Because as you know, from the navigation, some of you know, I mean, if you just take one line, that's definitely not enough, because you might be on any, let's say, spot of this line, kind of. So a little bit to the background, but not too much. The triangulation is not so, should I say, old triangulation in research, clear, okay? And especially not in the social sciences. So the first was kind of, should I say, mentioned or used at the end of the 50s. That's about, what, 60 years ago or something like that. When they were, Campbell and Fiske, they were trying to establish validity of a measurement scale, let's say. And then the next one is really when we hear, let's say, for the first time that somebody is using triangulation in social sciences. That was in year 1966. So not too old, but used more and more. And as I said many times, it is really kind of almost requested that you do triangulation as well in your research. So what's the main idea? As I have said, the main idea is that the researcher can be, as I wrote here, more confident with her or his results whenever different methods, data sources, let's say, researchers or theories are supporting the same, I won't say the same result, but actually interpreting the findings you have kind of gathered. And the idea is that it is kind of overcoming the weaknesses we do have. Is it now weakness, let's say, of just one group of people? Is it weakness of one methodological approach? Is it weakness, let's say, of one theory? So we are trying to bring more together in order to understand that way better, interpret the things way better, be actually sure that our results are really correct. That's kind of the idea behind it. And now I just not go into detail, but I like some definitions to be presented, because based on that, we can maybe see the variety actually of different thoughts and why we can use that. As I have just said, triangulation is the practice of obtaining more reliable answers for your research question, because we are using or integrating, and based on these definitions, we will see what we are trying to kind of conclude. Here we are saying integrating results from several and different approaches. Okay, so here we are talking a little bit about the methodologies in a way. So, and at the end, you will see that one of the types is the methodology triangulation. Okay, because as we have said, different methodologies have, let's say, or different methodological approaches have different strengths, but as well different weaknesses. And we would not like to be actually caught by those weaknesses which might influence our results. Cohen and Mannion have said that triangulation is an attempt to map out or explain more fully the richness and complexity, in this case, of human behavior. Many times in qualitative research, you will see triangulation being used because different sources will definitely, let's say data sources, will definitely help you understand things better. Is it now at different sites? Is it at different groups of people? Is it different levels in an organization or something like that? You will see that actually way better. Then O'Donoghue and Punch have said that it is kind of for cross-checking your data. Okay, once again, as I said, the validity will be probably stronger. You will say, I have done that and that, I have observed that and that. Those guys have said that and that. So it is kind of strengthening your results. And let's say Creswell, he has mentioned, for example, where he was talking rather about two types, source actually and time, that he said triangulation is collecting data over different times or from different sources. Okay, and based on that, you can corroborating the evidence from these differences, and through that have actually, as I have said, a more clearer picture of your situation. You can interpret your data way better. So what I'm trying to say, as I have mentioned, not in qualitative, mostly in qualitative research, it is not just about validation and verification of your results, but many times you will get a more rich study, a more robust study based on these, let's say, different inputs. Doesn't matter, is it now, let's say, as we have said, different locations, is it different time, is it different groups of people, is it different frameworks, for example, or something like that. So that's kind of the idea, not just for validation verification, but many times you will understand that even better. And important is maybe this sentence, I will directly read it. Triangulation is an approach to research that applies a combination of more than one research, if you want, a strategy in a single investigation. So that's really important. That means we are using different, let's say, approaches in one single study. And you will see it is not always, it's mostly for the interpretation. That's kind of the most important idea, that you get the different, let's say, views, perspectives, sources to interpret the data better. And that's probably one of the major differences to the mixed methods. Something else? Okay, that's kind of the sentence what I have just said. It's not the same as the mixed methods, but as I said, we will discuss that a little bit later on. So why would you use that? But before I go to the next section, let's say, of our discussion, any questions? Any questions? As I said, please just come with questions. Whenever you have a question, just come with a question that let us try actually to answer it. If not, then I will actually preach, but it really makes it so more interesting for all of us if you have any questions, which are definitely linked to your ideas, to your actually research and stuff like that. I mean, Seth, you are asking about content analysis. But maybe let us talk about that actually at the end, because yeah, definitely. I mean, if you are doing your qualitative, using qualitative methodology, you will use content analysis in order to, let's say, define or interpret or define or actually create your teams and your topics in teams. But just kind of, as I said, you can understand that you are using the qualitative, and at the same time, you can use the quantitative analysis, that you are bringing both together. And I will talk about it a little bit later on, okay? If not, then let us discuss that once again at the end, and just come once again with your question, okay? But what I'm trying to say, you will see that triangulation is maybe sometimes even a little bit disappointing for you in the first place, but at the end you see that it is really actually helping all of us, because we can derive to way better results. That's kind of the idea. So I'll just bring now 2 slides where we are trying to rationale behind, let's say, applying the triangulation. The first, what Denzin has actually wrote quite a lot about triangulation, so definitely one of the sources you might use in case you are trying to understand even more. So he said one of the reasons would be that we are enriching, let's say, our study, because we are getting, let's say, inputs from different angles, and through that we will be reducing our errors. That's definitely one of the things which is important. But on the other side, the next 2 are probably a little bit, should I say, not making you probably happy, because refuting means that now where I have taken another source, let's say, or another methodology, will disapprove what you have actually thought in the beginning. And that means that you have to think what has happened, why that has happened. And based in order to understand that, you might probably come with another sources, or techniques, or data collection, or whatsoever, in order to understand that and interpret that actually in a better way. Confirming, that is the idea, or that is what we would all like to have, that you have, let's say, different sources or different approaches, and they are kind of supporting and giving you justification for your, let's say, research question, or for your hypothesis or something like that. That means that the hypothesis might be confirmed. But one of the really major points of triangulation is, or strength, is that you are having, as we have said, different sets, let's say, of options, and these one set of options will contribute, will help you, will kind of explain the things even in a better way than just, let's say, one set of options. Okay, so we are trying to say that we are minimizing different issues, minimizing different biases and weaknesses. Is it now method? Is it researcher? Is it data collection, or whatsoever? And that's why more of them will usually help us. As I said, even the refuting, let's say, the second one, it is really helpful that you see that, let's say, your hypothesis was not approved. Because if you would not take, let's say, another source or another approach, you would be, should I say, concluding something totally might be wrong. So it really helps you to understand your results way better. I will not go into this one too deep, because it talks about similar things. It goes about convergence, inconsistency, and contradiction. That is what we have kind of just discussed. It is really nice that we have, as we have said, that we have convergence from different sources, let's say, or methods, or investigations, or theories. Definitely nice. But the inconsistencies and sometimes even contradictions will finally help you, that your study will be, and your results will be actually way better, and sometimes validated, or sometimes finally even correct, because you will go a little bit deeper and use another way of approaching your study. So as we have said, we can confirm our findings and conclusions. We can assure completeness because we have added, let's say, different sources. As I have mentioned, I don't know, in an organization, you can talk just to management, but if you want to know more and better, depending on the research question, definitely, as we have said, the research question guides it all. You can talk actually to the employees as well, or middle management, or even customers and stuff like that. And based on that, you might see so many, let's say, differences, but which will finally, and commonalities as well, which will finally actually support your study. That means completeness of the data. Different circumstances, that is, can be actually time, or as I said, levels, or can be different places even, will support you as well, or will show you that there are differences, and you can then go deeper and understand those differences. Okay. So different ideas, once again, why we are doing, or why we should apply, let's say, our triangulation. And maybe just a little bit before we touch the different types of triangulation is, to talk a little bit about effectiveness, that we are not just going out there and doing things without really a good plan. So let us try to do that effectively. And Corner has actually mentioned the next 4 bullet points. The first of all, I will not talk about the first one because it's clear the research question is anyway one of the most important, let's say, how should I say, topics, not topics, I would say topics, but guiding, should I say guiding elements of your study anyway. It's clear the research question has to be finally justified and clear and focused to define your study. Any questions? I just heard somebody. No, it looks like not. Another one is really important. It says strengths and weaknesses of each chosen method must complement each other. Okay, so we are not going out there and doing triangulation just for the sake of doing triangulation. No, we are really trying, as we have said, to see whether are there differences or are we actually going in the same direction. So the idea is that they complement each other. Okay, so that they will see whether they are supporting each other or opening new questions. Data collection methods have to be relevant to your study and properly linked, let's say, to your research question. Okay, that's important as well. So it does not make any sense that you would say, okay, I'll do a qualitative research, or let's say I'll do a quantitative research, or I will do interviews and I will do then focus groups or whatsoever, just as I said, for the sake that I have 2 sources. No, they have to be relevant and they really have to be actually clearly selected and justified why you are using them. And something else, it's important you really continuously evaluate, let's say, while you are studying. So it makes no sense that you are just, let's say, going out there and doing different things and then at the end bringing that all together. No, it's good that you understand while or before probably even you would do actually something else, use another source or whatsoever, that you know why you are doing that. So that is a little bit about the effectiveness. Don't just go out there, as I said, just in order or for the sake of doing that. That's the same thing as you would say, I need, I don't know, a sample of 2000 or something like that in your questionnaire, where you can actually calculate the sample size and says 225, it's enough. So things like that, not just go out there in order to have it. You have to understand why you are doing it and how you can do it in an effective way. Any questions so far? You're not very talkative today. Am I going too fast? Am I making it too complicated? or is it quite clear what we are trying to tell, what we are trying to discuss? Tell me. Are you still following me? Are you still with me? Okay, Elvis, let me finish and then come once again with a question, okay? Let us wrap it up at the end. Okay? Because now I'll talk about the types, and the types might explain that a little bit better and you will understand it. Okay, cool. So let us go to the types, because that's probably kind of the best possible operationalization of the triangulation. So we kind of, let's say, know or are known 5 different types. The first one, and I will go in each of them actually separately with a separate slide. Data or source type of triangulation means that we are using different types of data, or we can actually replicate that as well. We can use different methods, that means different research methods, within one study. I guess that's clear, okay? Just whenever we are dealing with the same research question, we can use more than just one investigator or the guys who are analyzing, let's say, your data. And as I have mentioned, we can use different theories, perspectives, frameworks, or whatsoever in order to be able to support our results. And the 5th one is kind of the multiple triangulation, where we can put 2 things together, let's say, 2 types together, data and methods, or even 3, it doesn't matter. It depends actually on your time, resources, capacity, and stuff like that. But we are talking about efficiency. So if you want to be efficient, just go with the one which, let's say, will really help you. You don't have to take the multiple triangulation, as I said, just in order to have it. So let us touch those 5, actually 4 and 4. The 5th is anyway the combination of the previous ones. Data source, first of all. As I have mentioned, data triangulation means that we are using several data sources. And here we can go actually into 3 directions. Can be time, that means that we are using that at different times. That we can using the space type of data triangulation. That means that we are collecting it, let's say, more than one site. I don't know, if you do your research on, I don't know, let's say in a bigger organization, then you can, especially in multinational organizations, you can go actually to 3 different sites. One could be in, let's say, United States, the other could be, I don't know, in Europe, the 3rd one could be in Asia or Africa or something like that, for example. Just in order, if that is linked to your research question, definitely, okay? And I have mentioned person triangulation means that you are talking to different levels, let's say in your organization, or if you study in a let's say at a university, you can talk to management, you can talk to teachers, you can talk to students, you can talk to actually even employers or something like that, in order to understand the things kind of better. But what I want to say, and then what I have to stress, is all of us or have definitely heard about the longitudinal design, okay? That means longitudinal is not triangulation. Longitudinal means something else, because longitudinal is, let's say, I do or I have done it in 1980s, I have done the same study in 1990s, I have done it 2000, 2010, and I'm trying to understand the differences, let's say, changes over time. That is not triangulation, okay? That is a clear, let's say, way of methodological approach, how I and why I do that. So that is not triangulation. Okay, so just not to mix it up. The other one is then, so the first type was, as we have said, data triangulation. Once again, if I go back, we said data source, methods, investigator, and theory, framework, perspective. So the next one is methods. So where you will be using, let's say, different methods. And now we can come, I mean, the simplest way would be kind of qualitative, quantitative, or something like that. Okay, but as we have said, at the same time, in order to support the interpretation, I talk about that. That's actually kind of really important. Not that you first do qualitative and after quantitative or something like that, because the previous one is informing the other one. That's not the idea behind it. It is to have, let's say, two methods in order to support your mostly understanding and interpretation. Okay, so as we have said, all of you know that some of them have actually weaknesses, qualitative, quantitative, let's say they have different weaknesses, or even data collection of some of them has weaknesses, and you can do that in a different way. But that's kind of the idea, once again, that we are using methods triangulation. And here we can go, let's say, even a little bit deeper, and we can do a methods triangulation on the design level, or methods triangulation at the data collection level. And let us talk about that in a few minutes. And at the design level, we can call that as well between methods triangulation. And whenever we're talking about the data collection level, we're talking within method triangulation. But that's not so important. Just let's say, go just simply to the example for the design methods triangulation, where we are, let's say, using, let's say, qualitative, quantitative methods in order to make our study, as I have mentioned, stronger. It can be simultaneously or it can be sequentially. So that means at the same time or one after another. But the idea is that we use that then at the level of interpretation. Okay, so we are collecting the data, we are analyzing the data of both, let's say, methodologies, and then at the end we are merging these results in order to see whether the interpretation of our results can be consistent. For example, I have put here an example, and I said using two different methods. For example, that you are using a questionnaire and observation. And that can be simultaneously or sequentially, doesn't matter, but you do collect the data, you analyze the data, you derive to the results, and then you check whether those two are, let's say, fitting together, are supporting actually your interpretation. Okay, that would be between method triangulation, and the other one is within method triangulation, where you are playing, should I say, or experimenting with data collection. And here you can have, for example, two different data collection techniques. Okay, so you can collect the data with using qualitative data collection instruments and qualitative, for example. Or you can do something else. You can do, as I brought here an example for you, you can use, for example, two different measurement scales to measure the same construct in your questionnaire, for example. Okay, so you have several constructs, and for one construct, sometimes you can use actually the questions will be scattered anyway and actually kind of hidden in there, but you measure the same construct with different 4, 5, 6 questions, for example. That's one of the options as well. And then you see whether the results are the same while you are using two different measurement scales. Might be actually useful for you as well. And then we come to the investigator triangulation. And in many cases, you will do that anyway. Maybe not for your PhDs, but even that, many times you will do. For example, I'm right now part of the supervisory team where we have, in a way, 4 different professors who are part of this supervision. We have somebody who is from the healthcare area, specialized in a field of healthcare. Then we have actually somebody who is specialized in the area of culture and religion. Then we have, I'm actually, as I said, coming from the quality management, and we have a person who is really good at different quantitative methodological approaches. So all 4 of us are supervising because it's quite a complex topic, and we would like to bring it actually, let's say, to a happy end. And everybody of us is kind of, let's say, seeing the things from a different perspective, even from a different, if you want to, standpoint as a researcher. That's another idea, as we have said, that you are really bringing different views, which are then kind of trying to derive to the results. Okay. But it's important that, let's say, that those researchers are part of the discussions. That means that it's not just that you say somebody do the, I don't know, data analysis, and he does data analysis, is not part of it or whatsoever. That does not mean that you are doing kind of triangulation, but we are really trying to bring that stuff together. Or some of you who are doing qualitative, let's say, and was mentioned before, the content analysis, for example, usually we are trying to strengthen a little bit the results, and we are inviting somebody else to code, let's say, and to determine finally the themes or something like that, that gives you another support that your way of data analysis was done in a proper way, and things like that. So that was actually the next one, the triangulation type, which was linked rather to the researchers who are involved in your study. And the last one is kind of the theory triangulation, where you can use different, as I have mentioned before, theories or theoretical frameworks, or if you want to, models, lenses. It depends how you will actually call that. And based on that, we will be trying actually to, in a way, you want to validate your data, or on the other side, where you are using once again your qualitative results, you might then actually use different theories, which will be, let's say, trying to explain your theory you have kind of developed. So that would be another way of using different theories for the data triangulation. That was now about the types. And as I said, the last one, where we have mentioned the multiple triangulation, that it just means that we are using a combination of 2 or 3 different types. That means you can use multiple methods for your data collection. You can use actually multiple sources, multiple investigators, or, as I have mentioned, multiple methods or whatsoever. So it's just a combination of more than one type is used within your study. Okay, I hope that has opened a little bit your eyes in which direction you usually go. Any questions so far?
Hello.
Okay.
Hello, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay. So I was thinking about triangulation in the area of my research. And I was thinking maybe if I do data collection, maybe a blood sample data collection, then I have a questionnaire maybe asking about that disease, and then get clinical records concerning that disease. Can that be a method triangulation?
That
Where I've used 3 different methods.
Actually, data collection. Is that correct?
Yes, data collection, then a questionnaire, then clinical record.
Actually, yeah. And then you put those things together and try to understand or try to, that is kind of, for me, I see it as a multiple sources. Or multiple sources.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, just another 3 minutes in order to explain what I have meant before, that the mixed methods are per se not triangulation. Because you will always see even your supervisors are usually one, let's say, rather in one direction. Are they qualitative or quantitative? Rather, I would say, and they might say, okay, do that in the quantitative way or do that in the qualitative way or whatsoever. Some of us are kind of coming there and saying, okay, just try to do both, but we don't want to bother students too much. So sometimes it's really needed, but if it's not needed, you don't have to go with mixed methods. That's another, I would say, important thought you should think of, okay? You do not need always mixed methods. That does not mean that things are getting better whatsoever, okay? If you have a clear research question which indicates and can be answered using just qualitative or quantitative, it's perfectly fine, it's enough. Don't overburden yourself. But what I'm just, as I said, trying to say right now is, as we have discussed, for example, we are using qualitative and quantitative. What did I say before? That we do interpret, that we do understand the results better. So that's the idea behind it. Are you doing it actually at the same time or one after another? Doesn't matter. But important is that you are using it, as it is shown actually in this slide, for the support of the interpretation, let's say, of your results. Interpretation, understanding. Not, that's kind of the idea behind it, okay? Qualitative data, if you want to, that would be then what time? Concurrent triangulation design is called, but the type would be methods, okay? Triangulation methods. That's okay. You do one, you do the second, let's say, method, and then you will use it for the final interpretation. The sentence here says what? Analysis for quantitative and qualitatives completely separately, okay? So you do them in a separate way. You are not trying actually to link them at that stage of the analysis or data collection or whatsoever. Just need them, use them at the end for your final data interpretation. Whereas mixed methods is something else. And that is here, once again, not triangulation. That's a sequential design where we are first using, for example, quantitative methodology in order, let's say, to use it, or using then qualitative to explain results or whatsoever, and then we have the final interpretation. I guess you see the difference, okay? As we have said, here we complete each of the, let's say, approaches, methodological approaches, qualitative, quantitative, and then we interpret the data. If you do that, that is actually mixed methods, where you are doing first quantitative in order to inform the qualitative part, and then you do the interpretation. And the same would be the sequential. This one is explanatory design. The same would be with the sequential exploratory design, where you do first qualitative, which will then inform probably, I don't know, maybe your survey or something like that, and then you will do your final interpretation. So I hope we do understand that that is a little bit a different thing. The mixed methods is not the same as triangulation. The aim and the idea behind it and the way how we do it is different. And if we go even deeper with actually, I don't know, that you have more parts of and combinations of different methods, that still is not triangulation. Because the idea is, as we have said, that you are really using that in order to validate, in order to understand, in order to interpret the things in a better way. And that is my last slide. Anyway, I was talking quite long. I'm so sorry. Yeah, now let's come to the discussion and questions, answers session. So if you have any questions, if you would like to ask, to comment, to whatever, do, just please let us do that right now. This will be on the record, but if you are not really happy with being, let's say, on the record, I can stop sharing. I can stop actually I can stop sharing. I can stop sharing. I can stop recording.